Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video. Out to you because you're listening. Thank you. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates. It's meant for the Core New Core. It's meant for anybody interested in surviving as a Pilates instructor, if you're teaching Pilates. And whatever else you teach, an awareness of core new tension can be a benefit, right? In helping you survive as a Pilates instructor or instructor. Okay? I'm going to quit making that distinction, but you know what I mean. So, assuming that it's not just one person and random people over the course of the last few videos I've made, I'm pleased to have you listening, and I'm sorry to report that Friday's recording I deleted. I deleted it because I gave the full name of the author of my introduction in my book, which you have, right? And I realized that person really guarded their privacy, and I thought it was not acting as a friend to let it out there, especially without talking about it or like that or editing out. And so Friday got deleted. It was an interesting talk. So number one, I have five things on my list today, okay? For what I know and for what you know about MMP and core new tension, where does the phrase come from, or the words come from, where you say, it makes me feel sorry for the rest? Isn't that that's a song. That's a song. In my generation, that's a song. It makes me feel sorry for the rest, because to me there's nothing better than, for me, having a comprehension of what my role is as a Pilates instructor when I'm doing it, when I'm acting at that, right? And so knowing that my target is the experience. How many times can I maybe capture that experience in the course of the time we have together? If it's once, it's enough. If it's more than that, it just keeps getting better from there, right? And in pursuit of an ideal, the focus of one's mind on being completely concentrated on the purpose of the exercise, and that comes up at number 5. So I'm so blessed that not only have I been able to develop this view and appreciate my view of Pilates and embrace it as such for myself, intermediate reformer every day, just like today. Didn't do the swan though. See, on some broadcasts I see always aim for better than your last or better than best. When you do Pilates and you actually do it, in my opinion, just in my experience, and knowing what the purpose is and how to concentrate on it, it's really hard. Even no matter, you do it at the level of energy that you're in. And in the doing of it, the idealization of it settles in and perhaps occupies your mind more than whatever else it was thinking about, and allows you to be more in the effort than you felt like being in the first place. That's what I meant to say. Okay? So my number two. Nothing is more familiar. Let me start over. Cases that, see, editing, I don't, well, in YouTube, you have control of your own files, right? And that lets you let someone else edit them later. Number two, there's nothing more fundamental than your conditioning. Whatever else you do with your life, or for your life, or by your life, maybe conditioning just means how you treat your body, and perhaps there's nothing more important about being able to continue is based on how you treat your body. And to the extent that you learn that, you have to that it helps to condition your body, right? To do preemptive movement or conditioning to avoid the consequence of not doing the conditioning. It's such an easy formula or experience, a human experience, that if I don't move, I get sedentary, and that turns into more pain. And the more I move, the less pain I'm in. And maybe that's a generalization and just my opinion, that's okay. But nothing's more important than your conditioning. And in my opinion, the ideal within Pilates, it's Joe's ideal, not mine. Joe stands head and shoulders above me in the ideal that he exposes for everyone. That goes way beyond the body, mind, and spirit individually, but is the means to make complete coordination of those capacities through a prescribed choreography that is a poem to the physics in which the biology finds itself. And so it'll take a long time for all of the, and actually it will never stop, so forget that point of view. There will always be the 10,000 views of Pilates, and all you'll have is yours, right? All you'll have is yours. And because it's your life and you're stuck inside it, there's a good quote for you. And in being stuck inside it, you condition it to stay out of pain and embrace pleasure or being pain-free with whatever you want to do with it. And Pilates is this fundamental poem where the body acknowledges its efforts to achieve its desire in the physics that it finds itself in. It creates rotational stabilization at the hips. And the grip at the hip is what everybody calls the core, and has their own personal pet 10,000 variants as to what the core is. So in my point of view at MMP, the core is a grip at the hips. And all you have to do is look at the, right? All you have to do is look at the profile of the spinal cord here. This is looking at it from the side. And there's Cornu. Do you see that? Do you see that? I am pointing to the fact of the physics. I'm not making it up, and it's not just one creative view or one take on things. It is just one take on things. It's mine. And I'm pointing to this as though asserting, professing that it's a fact of physics that our body acts like a spring at the hips and at the shoulders and at the ears. I knew you wanted me to finish that sentence. So Pilates, I remind you, is about survival. I mean, Joseph Pilates was a survivor. That's, other than German, and I think more important than German is the fact that he was a survivor. It makes his method characteristic survival training. And it's amazing what different things you see that go by. And one thing I saw go by that I didn't say anything about because it was not that big a deal to me, but to you, I want you to know, excuse me, I shouldn't point like this, you. I want you to know, see, then I forget what I want you to know. It'll come back. Nothing more fundamental than your conditioning. And Joe's sequence is a poem etched out of the most ideal shapes in space that commands control within those shapes at progressively heavier and heavier loads. You know this, right? Loading. And that's what matters, is you know this. See, if you just watch the sequence of the mat and analyze what's going on just by virtue of the weight involved and how much weight the body has to support and where the body has to support it from, okay? That's the music. That's the message. That's the Joseph Pilates mat sequence. So, Joseph Pilates was a survivor, and my point to you is that for my interpretation of what I'm teaching is, I'm trying to help a person survive, and the means of helping that person to survive is familiarity with enough of the mat work as a sequence that they can press the flow through that to find the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit, and then expand on the choreography once they have command of a sequence, of a routine, right? Sequence more than routine, because routine I think of as how often you do something, and sequence is the order of the exercises that you're doing. So number 3, I could have talked forever on number 1 and number 2, but so number 3 came out as Pilates and everything else. In this particular instance, making the distinction between Pilates and dance, what motivated me to come out and say Pilates and everything else, because I think it's important to see Pilates for what it is, and everything else respect for what it is. have all the respect in the world for dance and dancers and art, but as a not but and as an expression of dance, when somebody artistically expresses a Pilates exercise, they take it into art and desert the purity of the exercise. It's not so much what you say as what you don't say that you can be grateful for. So, most people, most everybody, right? Most everybody has some vague conception of whatever Pilates is, but that it could be made of whatever is presented by whomever is presenting, right? There's no ideal to it. That's a Michael Miller thing, which it is, and I'm proud and honored came to mind first, and then grateful. I just hope you're getting enough of this to own it for yourself, right? And that takes me to my ending, but I'm not ready for my ending yet either. Pilates and everything else. Yoga, to diffuse the category of dance, yoga or martial arts or aerobics. You know, the sequence got destroyed into the delivery of an aerobics mentality, in my opinion, right? Being structured by movement drawn out over a particular time period. When, in truth, the better you get at doing the mat, you know, a full mat at best, 35 minutes. 35 minutes. Is as ideal as it can get, in my opinion, my experience. And if you know something that's more ideal than what I'm professing, please let me know. You know, I bet we're talking about the same thing, and if we're not, yours is better than mine. I will adapt yours like that because I want what works. I want to survive. No, that's not true. That's not true. I want to honor the man who constructed something in and of itself that's like a point of, is it fission, where it just burns in and of itself, it fuses itself. And in that regard, the Pilates and everything else, an affectation and dance of pointed feet can truly be different. It'll all be different. It's all in how you see it. But, all right, what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that Pilates is not dance. And Pilates is not yoga, and it's not martial arts, and it's not aerobics, it's not archery. And the less you, when you learn it, there you go, when you learn it, or what you learn as you go along. And I got to the point and lost the mode behind it. Oh, it's only natural to take what you think is open to artistic improv because there is no ideal expression of it. See, there's the deal. And to me, that's sort of the tragedy of the aristocracy, and it's human nature, and it's always going to be that way. But it's up to you to, as a Pilates instructor, to survive as a Pilates instructor, you know, to walk among kings and fools, queens and fools, and do your job and get paid for it. And to insist on getting paid well for it because, why? Because this point of view is pretty pristine, right? It's pretty clear. And to that extent, this Pilates and everything else, so when you see someone's background influence the performance of an exercise, that's fine, that's where they come from. It's amazing. It's amazing. The mat, number 4, the mat. And I've already made the point about surviving. See, it might be it's a survival thing. And to miss the point of being able to perform the mat to achieve the experience is secondary and derivative from that major target, in my mind, what I'm aiming for. Okay? And all of what's new on the intellectual will come and go. But it will never change the alchemy you perform as a Pilates instructor when you enable a person to pursue Joe's choreography and find the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit as a state of being in the body in the moment of the doing. That's my stick. And as a Pilates instructor, please be better than I am at helping people expand their ability. And I'm short-tempered and I hate it when I encounter condescendence. Don't you? You know, it's like, jeez. And that's why it makes me feel sorry for the rest, and that you, and at that you, here I am, open palm, better, huh? That you share with me the confidence of the point of view, and I guess appreciate its transcendence, because it goes beyond Joe's original work to providing, or not provide, illuminating the ideal within it. That's what I want to say. It's not my ideal, it's his. It's his. And to see anybody that would take anything away from Joe from having made that fusion of idea, And if you get your fusion of body, mind, and spirit through some other means, that's a great thing. And if you bring your modality into Pilates to make it an artistic expression. I love art. I guess I take exception when art makes an exercise in Pilates, because I teach exercises and I care about how they're taught. Takes it away from the purpose of the exercise you're supposed to be completely concentrated on, and into an artistic expression of it, mostly naively believing that whatever is as good as what. Whatever is as good as what. I should write that one down. Number 5, I guess I've been talking, and so specifically, tendon stretch. It's hard for me when I see a Joe exercise represented so poorly, and then so on a positive note, in my view, in my opinion, just from the way I see tendon stretch is foremost a stretch of the Achilles tendon, and it starts where your metatarsals are anchored on the edge of the reformer, but there's plenty of room for your heels to sink lower than the level that your metatarsals are supported by. Right? So you're definitely in what's called dorsiflexion. You're pushing out through your heels. Right? And your knees are unlocked, but your legs are as straight as you can make them. And your hips are straight over your knees and your ankles, if it's possible to get into that position. And if it's not, many would argue that the person shouldn't be in the position, shouldn't do the exercise unless they can start in that position. Okay? Tendon stretch on the reformer. It's such an eloquent exercise because it's all about stabilizing the shoulder girdle. Well, no, from the core, how do I say this? Have you ever done the tendon stretch? Have you really done it? So your okay, contact points. We've been talking about contact points. Your contact points are your hands on the bar and your metatarsals on the edge of the reformer, right? And the challenge of stability in the shoulder girdle matters a lot. Because it's from the stability that the shoulder girdle creates that the hips push down through the heels and take the reformer out, keeping the end point of the hips in front of the end point of the ears. More specifically, keeping your bottom in front of the foot bar, that you push out through your arms. It's such a great exercise. That to push out through the arms is where the push out through the heels comes from. And this whole thing, from starting everything at vertical, goes out with the carriage. A swing down and a swing up is an artistic expression of movement, of a learning expression of the tendon stretch. But to me, the tendon stretch is such an eloquent exercise, ideally, in that the hips, the knees, and the metatarsals, in tension, are lined up directly over the submission to gravity, dorsiflexion down through the heels, right? And you just take that show on the road, meaning that show of engagement. I may have to stop all of this because it just I find out on Facebook that they record all of my phone calls and my text messages. Oh, okay. So what was I saying on the way out of town here? All right. Okay, so my note says, know how to filter out the improv. There's my title for maybe next time. Pilates is not improv, right? Pilates is precise in its performance as gymnastic efforts. I tried to have a Pilates Olympics once a long time ago, and they were aghast. So know how to filter out the improv. And see, how do you do that? How do you do that? Geez, as a Pilates instructor, how do you have the confidence to know what you're talking about so that you can artfully and skillfully and not confrontationally guide your student into a better engagement, into more control, into more understanding of the purpose of the exercise, so that in their effort to pursue the purpose of the exercise, if Joe didn't have in mind specifically a purpose to his exercises, he never would have wrote it, and he never would have said that without the pursuit of that effort, you're wasting your time because it's not Pilates. I'm paraphrasing there. Filter out the improv. And the only way to know how to do that is to have some conception of what the ideal expression is. And sadly, around the world, people are actively teaching improv Pilates, because that's all they know, right? And it makes it fertile ground for you as a Pilates instructor if you know how to take people beyond where they are without making them feel guilty for where they've been in terms of their pursuit of and what they've learned about Pilates, right? We're all headed up the same mountain. Good. Because my last comment today, from my balcony I can see a mountain sometimes. And today the overcast, the clouds are very low, and it's not there. You can't see it. But in my mind, I still believe that it's there because of my experience, mountains don't move very much, right? So my point about Pilates and being an instructor, and if the mountain is the ideal that exists within the original work of Pilates, it's something you've heard about or that you've been exposed to, by me probably. My point is that even though you may not see the mountain at all or see it clearly, just knowing that according to my profession it exists and it's out there can give you the confidence for the pursuit of what you're after when you act as a Pilates instructor. Okay? And to what extent that's Pilates or improv. And maybe, see, there's the 10,000 things, and this is just one view. And my view is that there's an ideal within it, and that outside of the ideal, everything else is improv. And that's pretty exclusionary, and I don't mean to be so or take advantage of the fact that I'm pointing out the obvious. Have you spent any money my way yet? How's that for an ad? You know, what have you spent on me lately? The more you understand the purpose of the exercise, the more the improv falls away, or the more you can introduce something different. These are my words. Not better, not worse, just something different. And then, you know, you can decide later, this is just for now. Right? And you at least give your student an opportunity to sense it another way. And I don't usually give a person a chance to sense something worse than better, in my opinion. So, being tactful in how you introduce material matters, right? You know this. All right, so thank you again for buying the book. Surprised you found one, you know, a physical one. Made me read the introduction again, and that helped me. The introduction was about my journal that I've written, and for better or worse, that impulse has come out over the last 634 days as an effort to communicate to you the best I had to say about surviving as a Pilates instructor. Because reading the introduction again, I said that helped me get a handle on, I did some, part of it I did. The impulse which comes to me now, to you in this recording. Follow? And life can't live forever. Read between the lines, even the lines. So, feel the difference. Life can't live forever. And life can't live forever? I don't know. One, just an admission of fact, the other, an expression of an emotion. And in that regard, Read Between the Lines was about reading between the different ways you could express that or have emotion in that statement of life can't live forever. See behind the curtain. See behind the curtain of presumption of superior information, because that's one way to get the troops to fall in line, or to see if you can be bullied into the presumption that somebody knows better than you do. I mean, be serious. You know MMP. You know about coordinated attention. But hopefully do be more tactful than I am, and make a better go of it within the community at large. Add 2 and 2. I'm telling you, if you know what I'm talking about with what I'm saying, then understand yourself within that context of value, and don't let a presumed superiority from somewhere else be anything other than a small innocent assumption. Direct your thinking, right? Now, you say you want to know why, but I'm like Jack Nicholson in the Marine role where he says you can't handle the truth, and you're on the web saying, oh, you want to know about the truth. You know the truth, and you start spouting this truth, and you don't have, well, I don't know. Direct your thinking, and know what your target is as an instructor. Be understanding and empathetic to all the Pilates passion out there that is so malnourished. Right? Geist.